Come on, Daddy.
It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's dead.
Here we go. From the
Come on, Daddy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is BS Sports.
And welcome in. And welcome in. What a weekend it was. I gotta say, I thought the Lions were gonna win on Sunday. I did. I picked them to win. I thought they were gonna win. I did not think we were gonna win that way. I thought it was gonna be gutsy. Or, well, it was gutsy. I thought it was gonna be dirty. I thought it was gonna be close. I thought it could have been back and forth. I thought it was going to be a 3-point win, but no. The Lions went in on Sunday and said, where is it? Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Hold on. They said, here we are.
Hey.
And they just made Tampa Bay their home. They said, hey, this is our house. And they made Baker Mayfield look like the bust that he has been sort of growing to be at this point. But I actually do like Baker Mayfield. I want to make that clear. But we got a great show. We're going to talk Lions because I got a Jared Goff thing that I want to talk to some people about because I don't think people want to hear it. I don't think people want to hear the things I'm going to say about Jared Goff, but it's true. We also got the rest of the NFL week that we got to talk about. 49ers and Eagles. Is everything okay? Is everything all right, guys? I don't know what's going on there. We're going to talk a little bit about the NHL standings, where the Red Wings sit about 3 games into the season. We got the baseball playoffs. Things are getting juicy there. The divisional series is all set. The championship series just underway. We have MSU finding new ways to embarrass itself in the college football landscape itself. Just many things going on. And then obviously we'll get to the picks. And that's pretty much the show rundown. But we're going to start with the Lions real quick. Oh, jeez. Excuse me. I felt that coming as I was doing that intro. We're going to start with the Lions, though. All right. First of all, 20-6 victory on the road without a run game is already impressive in and of itself. But I got to say, this is a top defense in the league. Like, it's not just fluky. It's not just you play bad teams. No. This is a top defense in the league. All right. Here's some team stats for you, okay? The Buccaneers ran a total of 54 plays for 251 total yards. They had an average of 4.6 yards per play. They passed for just 205 yards, and they ran for 46 yards. That's another game where the Lions have held a team to below 100 yards rushing. It's another game where they held a team to below 50 yards rushing. I believe they did that against the Falcons. And I think they did that as well against the Panthers. Could be wrong on that, though. I'm not totally sure on that. They also had the interception. They won the turnover battle. I mean, this defense, they held the Buccaneers at home, had the ball for 23 and a half minutes. And we didn't have a run game. Like, we had no run game. We had less rushing yards than they did because David Montgomery died. Our leading rusher was Craig Reynolds, who ran for 15 yards. Like, this defense took them to the chop house, essentially. We took them to where they were 2 for 12 on third down. Soon as it was third down, they might as well have gotten the punt team out because there was no chance they were going to get it. 1 for 2 on fourth down as well. I don't even know. I think it was like a 4th and 1 or something they converted, or 4th and 3, something very short. But it's just, this is like another week where, like, every week I kind of go in and I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. This is the game the defense is going to give up some points. It's going to be, and just like, they didn't give up a lot of big plays against Kansas City. They did give up some big plays against Seattle, but most of it was just Geno, Duncan, and Diamond. They really couldn't run the ball on us either. You had the absolute masterclass of a showing on against the Falcons, where the Falcons could not run the ball and multiple turnovers. You had the game against Carolina where they just destroyed. I mean, it's like Dylan. I mean, I'm just saying they were wearing the creamsicle jerseys. You would have thought it was 1991 because they were playing like it was 1991. Like, help me out here, man. Like, I don't think Baker Mayfield is a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but he looked pedestrian. And it was like, the thing was, they couldn't run the ball. I don't know if Tampa has a really good rushing offense to begin with, but it seems like the identity of this defense is if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to pass on us because you are not running the ball, which means you are not controlling the clock, which means our offense has more time to march down the field and eat away at that precious time that your offense would have a chance. And look, Baker Mayfield was overthrowing guys. That tip pass for the interception. I mean, you had Mike Evans going with nobody in front of him. And if he would have hit that pass, I don't know if he was even targeting Mike Evans there. Like, it's one of those conjecture points that I've heard people make. And it's like, well, how do we don't know. The ball was tipped. Like, he could have missed him anyway. And he was missing guys as well. There was like one play to Palmer where Mayfield took the top off the defense. But other than that, it was just domination by the defense. And I'm not afraid to say this is a top defense in the league. This defense is up there with the Eagles. This defense is up there with the 49ers. It's up there with the Browns. And the Browns are having a historically good defense. Meanwhile, the Lions, as far as their franchise goes, this is a historic defense. I mean, I think I saw something that was like that this is the first time that the Lions have held a team to like less than 100 rush yards for this many games in a row since like 1930 or something insane. And it was like, this is a top defense in the league. And look, we got guys beat up too. I mean, we don't have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We don't have Emmanuel Mosley. We didn't have Brian Branch for the past couple of games. And it's next man up. Guys just step up. They make plays. They stop offenses from being able to just march down the field. There was one drive where Tampa Bay marched down the field. Like, there was one drive, I think, where they seem to have their way with us. And that's all they get. Basically, like, if a team gets down the field, they better hope and pray they get a touchdown because that's going to be probably the last time they march down the field on this defense. Full stop. So, the other thing is shout out J-Mo. Hey, Jameson Williams, way to show up today. I mean, I don't want to disrespect the man. Couple of catches for 53 yards and a touchdown. You know what? It's a good day. It's a good day because that's all he needs to be. The thing is, there were some people that I heard reports that he was talking to St. Brown. He's like, oh man, I really want to get some targets. And St. Brown was like, look, you're going to get it. And I'm thinking, I think Ben Johnson understands what Jameson Williams' role is going to be. And it's not that they're going to throw the ball to him, 8-10 times. They're going to throw the ball to him closer 3 to 5 times a game. And it's going to take the top off, right? It's going to be the plays where, like we had on Sunday, where it's going to be one 45-yard pass for a touchdown or 45-yard pass to put you in field goal range or what have you. And it's just one of those things where it's like, if that's his role, that's an amazing role to have. That's not, you're going to get the highlight plays. You're going to get to use your speed to just utterly decimate secondaries. And it allows you to get the spotlight as far as putting on the touchdowns. Like, St. Brown is a workhorse, right? St. Brown, 12 receptions, 124 yards. And look, I don't think Jameson is going to get that amount of receptions, but he certainly could get that amount of yards in a game. If you throw to him, once or twice in a situation where, he's open and he's got a lot of space, he's going to be able to pick up a touchdown at that point. Like, Jameson Williams, that catch on Sunday was not an easy catch either. And he had a drop ball too. Like, he was targeted 3 times. He had a drop ball on a wide open pass. And look, was it perfectly thrown to him? No, but you got to catch the ball when it touches your hand. That's my rule. And, if you're going to drop one pass a day, but you're going to get a touchdown for 45 yards. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? Like, I can't say anything about that. Like, you averaged 26 and a half times every time he caught it. Like, I know he caught it only twice, but still, like, and Josh Reynolds as well. Just three receptions for 50 yards. Sam Laporta, 4 receptions for 36 yards. I mean, it's getting everybody involved in different ways. And I think that's sort of the identity of this team, on both sides of the football. It's not just Aiden Hutchinson running the D line. It's not just Amon-Ra St. Brown running the offense. It's everybody. It's Craig Reynolds getting a block on a St. Brown reception. It's Craig Reynolds running for, 15 yards. I mean, like, it's not amazing, but it's something. It's Khalif Raymond catching 3 balls for 23 yards. It's Sam Laporta for 4 for 36. It's everybody getting involved, and that, I think, is the separator between this Lions team and any Lions team in the past. Every Lions team in my lifetime, at least, and probably even before my lifetime, it was always you had a guy like Calvin Johnson, or you had a guy like Matthew Stafford, or you had a guy like Barry Sanders, and they pretty much ran your team. If they were off one day, you couldn't win. You were just not going to win. And if they were not playing, you probably just weren't good. Like, whereas it's like, does Detroit have that one player that you're like, okay, that is their superstar guy? It's like no, they have multiple guys that you could say are stars. David Montgomery, I think he's a star. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he's a star. Jameson Williams, we'll see. But if he continues to make plays like that, I think he's a star. Jared Goff, we'll talk about him because people don't want to hear this. But I got to tell the people, I have a duty, okay? I have a duty to tell the people the truth about Jared Goff. And people aren't going to like it. Some people aren't going to like it, but I like it. I'm a big fan of it. And on the defensive side, it's Alex Anzalone stepping up. It's Cam Sutton stepping up. It's Jerry Jacobs, who is a career third stringer or a career backup. And he's stepping up. He's making fun, good plays. He's out there. Will Harris had an interception. It's not like there's another thing that I've heard echoed, and it's your roster build is good when the guys who were your starters 2 years ago are your backups. Like, that's how you know. Like, and it's like, were any of those guys so terrible? It's like, no. I look at pretty much everybody on our team, and I can't look at anybody and say, this guy is so bad, I can't stand him, I don't want him on my team. I really can't. Like, even guys who get no playing time, like Devin Ozigbo or even Craig Reynolds or Marvin Jones Jr., like guys that barely get their name called. It's like, I don't have any problem with these guys. I really don't. I mean, Marvin Jones just isn't getting a lot of targets, and Marvin Jones is also past his prime at this point. He's more so there for a little bit of nostalgia, but then also for just like veteran presence. I mean, he can still play the game. He's just not who he was just a couple of years ago, actually. But I mean, it's a credit to Brad Holmes, ultimately, because he saw something in this particular group of guys. He saw something in arranging a team the way that he did. And is it you're nailing every single draft pick? No. Is it you're nailing every single free agent? No. But it's in a consistency to get value out of somebody, out of anybody. And the coaching staff gets the credit as well. But it's one of those things where I've seen a lot of people comparing this team to the 2004 Pistons, where you look at the team roster and you're like, none of these guys are superstars. And yet, we're dominant. We're as good as any team in the NFL. I mean, put us up against any team in the NFL. I think we got a chance of winning. Like, we beat the Chiefs on the road. I think we could beat the Eagles. I think we could beat the 49ers. I think we could beat the Dolphins. I think we could beat any team if you put us in front of it. I don't think any team is out of the realm of possibility. I really don't. And I think Sunday's game, I think it just sort of proved it, because the writing on the wall was that Tampa Bay was going to have a good game, and they didn't. And not only did they have not a good game, they had a very bad game, and we had a very good game. And speaking of having very good games, I got to tell the people about Mr. Jared. Okay? Here's the thing. All right? So I did a little bit of research, as I do. And Jared Goff right now is having a pretty good year. But I just want to emphasize the quality of year. Okay? Okay. So Jared Goff right now to this point has thrown for 1,618 yards this season. That's more than Patrick Mahomes. That's more than Josh Allen. More than Jalen Hurts. More than Trevor Lawrence. It's more than Brock Purdy. More than Justin Herbert. More than Dak Prescott. More than Lamar Jackson. I can go down the list. Okay. Touchdowns. Jared Goff has thrown 11 touchdowns. That's tied for Patrick Mahomes. Tied, actually, believe it or not, with Justin Fields. More than Brock Purdy. More than CJ Stroud. More than Justin Herbert. More than Jalen Hurts. More than Trevor Lawrence. First downs. Jared Goff has thrown 77 first downs. That's tied with Josh Allen. Tied with CJ Stroud. It's more than Patrick Mahomes. It's more than Brock Purdy. It's more than Dak Prescott. It's more than Jalen Hurts. What about yards per game? Okay. Jared Goff has thrown 269.7 yards per game. That's more than Justin Herbert. That's more than Patrick Mahomes. More than Josh Allen. More than Jalen Hurts. More than Trevor Lawrence. More than Geno Smith. What about quarterback rating? Okay. Jared Goff has 105.1 quarterback rating. Higher than Josh Allen. Higher than Justin Herbert. Higher than Patrick Mahomes. Higher than Lamar Jackson. And so on. What about QBR? Jared Goff has a 73.3 QBR according to Football Reference. Higher than Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford. The list goes on and on. All of this is to say, Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback in this league. He is. And it's not just that he's ahead. It's that in all those categories, Jared Goff ranks at least 5th in all of those categories. The guys that are consistently ahead of him are Tua Tagovailoa. You have a couple where Josh Allen is ahead of him. Kirk Cousins is actually ahead of him in touchdowns and in total yards. Matthew Stafford as well in total yards. CJ Stroud in total yards. But it's hard for people to understand this, right? Because you look at Jared Goff and it's like, oh, it's Jared Goff. I mean, like, he's 29 and he lost the Super Bowl and he didn't score a touchdown. And here's another thing I want to this is something that's interesting to me. It's a little comparison that I think not a lot of people have noticed. Okay? Let me just pull up I got another player. Now I'm not implying that this is the turnaround that he's absolutely going to have, okay? So Jared Goff spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Let me just double check that math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He spent 5 years with the Los Angeles Rams. Okay. Now there's another quarterback who, in the history of this league, he did not spend 5 seasons with Los Angeles. He spent 5 seasons with another team based in California. Let me just double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he moved on from that team and went on to have a very successful career at an age where he was closer to 30 than he was to 20. And another thing to point out about that is this player moved on to a coach who worked in the New Orleans Saints organization. I think you know who I'm talking. It's Drew Brees. 5 years Drew Brees spent with the San Diego Chargers. He had 1 Pro Bowl season. Every other season, he was okay. He wasn't amazing. And a lot of times he was actually very bad. Threw a lot of interceptions, threw a lot of touchdowns, but couldn't keep the ball in the hands of his offense. And to answer your question, Dylan, do I think he'll win the MVP? I think if he continues at this pace, not a bad shot. Because look, as far as total yards, like he's not getting beat by Matthew Stafford for the MVP. He's not getting beat by CJ Stroud for the MVP. He's not getting beat by Kirk Cousins for the MVP. The only guy I could see winning the MVP at this point, other than Jared Goff, as far as quarterbacks, if we're looking at yards, would be Tua. because Tua is putting on arguably an even better year than Jared Goff. But Tua has probably the best wide receiver room and probably the best running room and potentially the best offense in the league. And that's not a slight at Tua, but here's the thing. I'm not saying that Jared Goff is going to go on to have a Hall of Fame career with the Lions, a la Hall of Fame career that Breeze had with the Saints. But what I am saying is that he seems to have found something here. He seems to have, like, Dan Campbell made a comment at the beginning of the season, before the season started, like, I want to say around training camp time. He said that Jared Goff right now is better than when we got him. The implication, of course, being that he is better than he was when he was in LA. And in LA, everybody assumes, the 2 Pro Bowls in 2017, 2018, and, leading the league in yards per catch. He led the league in attempts. He was a 3,000, 4,000 yard passer. But you look at what he's done in Detroit, and it's like 2021 threw for 3,000 yards. 2022 threw for 4,000 yards. He's on pace to probably hit close to that, if not that again, throwing for right now 1,600 yards. He's having what looks like a better season than he had last year. And he has a potential to put up higher numbers given the fact that he's got Jamison Williams to increase that deep ball threat that was not there before and was certainly not there last year. And look, again, do I think he's going to win the MVP? Probably not, just given how good Tua has been. And it's far too early to be talking about MVP. But he certainly should get some votes. I mean, heck, Justin Fields last year got votes. I mean, if Justin Fields can get MVP votes, I don't see why Jared Goff should not get MVP votes. I mean, he has been absolutely fantastic. And I truly do believe right now, gun to my head, he's a top 5 quarterback in this league. Right now, he's better than Jalen Hurts. Right now, he's arguably better than Josh Allen. Right now, he's been playing more consistently than even Patrick Mahomes. I mean, again, do you want me to go through the stats? Do you want me to go through the stats where he's ahead of Mahomes? Ahead of Mahomes in yards. Ahead of Mahomes, I believe, in touchdowns. Ahead of Mahomes in, where is it? In yards per game. Ahead of Mahomes in quarterback rating. Ahead of Mahomes in QBR. I mean, like, I'm not trying to, diss Mahomes, but we have to be looking at reality, guys. As it stands this year, Jared Goff has been a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Not saying he stays that way by the end of the season, because Mahomes tends to get better as the season goes. But right now, where we stand, in the year of our Lord, 10/17/2023, Patrick Mahomes is not playing as well as Jared Goff is right now. And what he did on Sunday especially cements that. He had no running game. He had Craig Reynolds as his starting running back the whole game. And he threw for 350-some yards. Something, I mean, let me actually get the exact number. He threw for 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I mean, he threw the ball 44 times. How often does a guy throw the ball 44 times and not once throw an interception? And it wasn't like he was just throwing to guys that were wide open. He was throwing through coverage. Go look at the highlights. Go watch the tape. He's throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams and all these guys, and Josh Reynolds and Sam Laporta, through coverage. He's throwing through like 3 defenders. I couldn't believe it. I was watching the game. Right now, I'm just laying it out for the people. He's a top 5 quarterback. And I think it's weird. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody could have expected it. I didn't expect it, and I thought this team was going to win 12 games. He's playing out of his mind. And if he doesn't get an MVP vote by the end of it, I really don't know what he has to do, because, frankly, he deserves all the respect in the world. He was treated, he was seen as, oh, you only took him on so that you could get some better picks from the Rams, right? That was the idea. But the more we look at it, assuming if the Lions can win a Super Bowl, I don't think it is a question that the Lions win that trade, assuming they win the Super Bowl. You get a franchise quarterback, you get 2 first-round picks, and you win the Super Bowl on top of the Rams would and I'm not to say that the Rams didn't get a win there. Obviously, winning the Super Bowl the first year with a new quarterback, that's not exactly a lose for you in that trade. But Brad Holmes, again, with a masterclass of a trade because nobody wanted Jared Goff. Nobody. And now, you ask a lot of the teams around the league, ask the Broncos if they'd like Jared Goff. Ask the Raiders. Ask the Bears. If they would, ask any of these teams that have, ask the Saints. Ask the Giants. Ask any of these teams that if they could have a quarterback like Jared Goff, they would take it in a heartbeat. That's just what it is. Just what it is. So, that's enough Lions for right now. We will talk about the rest of the NFL. So, this week in the NFL, we had a lot of interesting. Couple of well, I had 3 games marked down here. Because these 3 games I think indicate the most narrative shifts. I don't know if that's the exact wordage I want to use. The 49ers. Okay, Brock, that was rough, wasn't it? I mean, look, a lot of people, and it was weird. It's like the NFL has a way of like when a narrative starts to form amongst fans or amongst the media, the NFL has a strange way of just having the answer to that narrative play out that following week. And this week, the narrative was, is Brock Purdy a good quarterback or is he an average quarterback playing in a great system with huge talent around him? And the answer this week, at least, is the latter. He was awful. I mean, I don't know what the stat. Let me pull up the actual stat line because it was very bad. Like he threw the ball 27 times, 12 for 27, 125 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, and was sacked 3 times, loss of 18 yards. I mean, you know it's bad when PJ Walker threw for more yards than you. Like that's when you know it is bad. And look, obviously, you lose your 2 best offensive weapons in Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey especially. But the thing that concerns me is, wait a minute. You lose 2 guys, 2 very talented guys, and then all of a sudden you just can't move the football down the field with like some level of consistency or flair. I mean, you still have Ayuk. You still have Kittle. It's not like he was devoid of any of his weapons on offense. But the 49ers looked very vulnerable. Now, to be fair, the Browns defense is historically good. And it's hard to move the football on them to begin with. But they started that game. They were ahead. All their defense had to do was kind of close it up to put the nail into the coffin. And all Brock Purdy had to do was just take his time moving down the field. But they didn't have Deebo. They didn't have McCaffrey to run the ball. So they couldn't really do much on offense. And despite that, they still were able to march down the field with a chance to win the game. And Jake Moody, the freshman, the rookie kicker, misses the field. And look, Lions fan in me, that's a shame. It's a real shame to see the poor kid miss it. At the same time, that might be the first and only kick he misses this year. Because Jake Moody's a very good kicker. However, it does make you think, would Robbie Gould have made that kick? I don't know. Probably. Maybe. Maybe not. He's made plenty of clutch kicks before. It is interesting that he's still not with a team. I think he's just gone. Like he just doesn't have a job. It's just out in the wind. He's like Patrick Kane, except at least Patrick Kane has an excuse because he's like, dead. Not literally. Like he's had some surgery or something. But the other story I wanted to get to is the Eagles. We were just talking about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts this year is not Jalen Hurts of last year. Jalen Hurts is almost certainly not going to get a. He might not get very many MVP votes. He might get one MVP vote. Because that game, he lost that game for his team. He did. I mean, you throw how many? 3 interceptions. Again, let me get the actual stat line so that I can look at it directly. I gotta find it. There it is. Here is Jalen Hurts' stat line. Which, to be fair, he threw the ball 45 times and he had 280 yards. But again, he threw the ball 45 times, and when you're throwing the ball that many times, guess what? Few of those balls are gonna land on the wrong jersey, and they did 3 times. One of them, which led to a game-winning touchdown for the Jets. And this is like another week where the Jets, I mean, they just won't die. Like they had their quarterback that they spent their whole offseason. This was the big move the Jets were going to make, an upgraded quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. And Zach Wilson still playing like hot garbage. And yet they just find a way to win. Credit to Robert Saleh, but they just, I don't know how they do. They were down 14-9 at the half, right? And the Eagles just disappeared in the second half. And to be fair, they did this in the Super Bowl last year, where they just didn't score. They didn't know what. You know what? I don't want. That's what they did. And I'm like, it's one of those things where the Eagles are relying a lot on, the sort of, I feel like they're relying on their talent to bail them out. It just doesn't feel like the same unit. And they lose both their coordinators. It's tough to bounce back from that for sure. But you got to give credit to the Jets. It's not like any one player is really blowing the top off. I mean, you had Garrett Wilson who caught for 90 yards, and Breece Hall had 54 receiving yards as well as 39 rushing yards. But it's like it wasn't just one guy winning them the game. So look, do I think the Jets are going to make the playoffs? Probably not. But I'm glad the Lions aren't playing the Jets this year, because that's a scary team. Like, that's a team that's going to play spoiler. That's a team that I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they already beat the Bills. I mean, the way the Bills are playing, hey, they might be able to beat the Bills twice. I don't know. If you're a team like Miami, if you're a team like, I don't know if Kansas City plays no, they did play the Jets. They almost lost the Jets. If you're a team like, I don't know. I don't know if some of these teams play that. If you're a team like Cincinnati or Baltimore or any of these teams in the AFC or in the NFC, you got the Jets on your schedule, you need to game plan. And you need to game plan as if your season is on the line, because this is a Jets team that is not going to go down without a fight. No doubt about it in my mind. The other story I want to talk about is the Bengals. They have risen from the dead. Joe Burrow had another awful game, but yet they still win the game. And that is all that matters, because right now they are right back to where they started. 500, 3-3. They pull off a win in an ugly game where both teams really couldn't get much of it going offensively. Game where it looked like they were going to blow it in the second half, but they managed to hold on. Credit to the Bengals, but they're going to have to clean it up if they want to make a run at this, because I look at a team like Miami in the AFC right now, and they look a lot cleaner on playing ball than the Bengals have looked all year. So I don't know what's going on with Joe Burrow other than that he's hurt. I don't know why he insists upon playing, because I feel like if he keeps playing, if he's playing poorly, here's the thing. What would be the point of this season if you're Joe Burrow? If you go, I don't know, let's say they go 9-8 and they sneak into the playoffs at the 7th seed, and then you just get crushed by they would play the 2 seed. So let me think. They get maybe the Chiefs or the Bills. Yeah, I think it would probably be the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are 5-1. So yeah, you play the Chiefs as the 2 seed, assuming Miami is the 1 seed. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Play are the Chiefs or the Dolphins, and you get destroyed. What was the point? What was the point? You put your body on the line for one, and you just wasted a season, essentially, where you would have just, said, you know what, I can't play this season. I'm ruining the team's chances. Let's just season's a wash. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna sit and we're gonna see where we end up in the draft and maybe make some picks and go from there. But doesn't look like Joe Burrow wants to do that. Doesn't look like Cincinnati wants to do that. And hey, maybe he's got that dog in him. I love Joe Burrow. I thought he was going to have a really good season this year. I thought he was going to have an MVP caliber season, and not turning out that way. Not turning out that way by any means. So, if they can continue to get these scrappy wins off, I mean, I just don't see them as a scary team. I mean, they just the Seahawks just apparently didn't know how to score in the red zone all second half. But it win's a win, I suppose. But yeah, there were other things that happened this week. The Bills somehow pulled out a win over the Giants, and Seth's Chargers are dead to me. I've somebody described it on Reddit. The Chargers are the least clutch team in the history of the NFL, and I don't have a statistic to back that, but I have my instinct to back that. I've never seen a team consistently have opportunities to win games, opportunities to keep themselves alive, and just blow them, just utterly blow them with talent on both sides of the football, just completely. I've never seen it. For years, the Chargers have had talent on both sides of the football. For years. And they just can't put it together. And Seth needs your thoughts and prayers. I'll just say that. Because that's a rough day. It's a rough way to lose. That's for sure. I want to say that Justin Herbert has like a 27-27 record as a quarterback now. So he is quite literally painfully average. Like as from talent perspective, he could throw the deep ball. He can, he can sling it. But I've seen a lot of people talking about this. He reminds me a lot of Matthew Stafford with the Lions in the 2010s, where he could sling the ball to Calvin, and sometimes he'd have those big plays that take the top off defenses. Sometimes they'd show up and he'd throw for 300 or close to 400 yards. But he just can't do the little thing. He can't hit his guys up the middle. He can't throw the good passes to guys that, he had Keenan Allen, I believe, wide open, and he just totally missed him. He just totally missed him. He overthrew him because he puts too much juice on the ball, just like Matthew Stafford used to do with all of our receivers, especially after Calvin left. That was the thing that he consistently would do. But that's that. That's enough NFL for today. I don't know if I want to talk about this. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk. All right. So Michigan State, they played a football game on Saturday. Now, you may not believe me that they played a football game, but historically speaking, they did play a football game. And I have a number for you. Okay? That number is 98.3. 98.3. 98 decimal 3 tenths. Okay? Do you know what that number is? You probably don't. You're probably like, Mike, what are you talking about? Is that a radio station? Is that completion percentage, maybe? I don't know, the greatest completion percentage of all time? No, it's neither of those. That number is the win probability that Michigan State had with less than 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, when Michigan State had a 24-3 or 24-6 lead over Rutgers. Highest win probability they had the whole game, 98.3%. I have many angry things to say about this. None of them will go, however, to Caden Hauser. Okay? Was Caden Hauser amazing? No. Caden Hauser was not amazing. But Caden Hauser threw for 133 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He also ran for a touchdown. God bless Caden. Do your thing. Do your thing. He had more touchdowns than Noah Kim had in 3 games. So, you know what? No disrespect to Caden Hauser. No, I don't want to hear it. And Nathan Carter, even 20 carries for 52 yards, wasn't an amazing game, but it wasn't a terrible game for Carter either. Okay. I am convinced at this point that we will not win another game. There's no way. I mean, I heard this week some people were saying we have a chance to beat Indiana. And I say, normally I would say yes, of course, because it's Indiana. But then I think to myself, what is really the difference between us and Indiana? I mean, we haven't won a game in the conference all year. I don't think Indiana has won a game. Our last win, I think, was against Richmond, a team that nobody cares about, and I don't even think they're like Division 2. Like I don't even think they're Division 1. So they might not be in Division 2. I don't know. They might be a high school team problem. And honestly, if you get the best high school team, I don't know if we win. That's not true. You probably win. It's just like one of those things where, I know Harlan Barnett is not going to be our coach. But Harlan, can you at least pretend that you want to keep your job? I mean, the second half ends and we are just, I don't know, we're just playing, nothing. I don't know what we're doing. Excuse me. And the clock is running down as we're moving down the field. And I'm like, we have all 3 timeouts. Just, call the timeout. And we're just not doing it. And we get to the point where it's like 40 seconds. And we can only run so many plays. And I think we ended up having to settle for the field goal. It's like, well, why are we not calling timeouts? Why are we not? We can use them. There's no reason to not use them. Okay? Even if you want to say, well, we just want to not waste them too early. Okay. You're not getting the ball back. All right? Understand? You're not getting the ball back. And you might not be down the field for that much longer. Clearly, we were not down the field for that much longer because we only scored 1 extra time after that whole game. So Barnett doesn't know how to time manage. I don't expect him, honestly. Like, he's not a head coach in this league. He's not a head coach anywhere. Maybe for Toledo. Like, he's not a head coach for us. But on top of that, it's just like, it's basic thing. And I gotta unload on one man. All right. And that man's name, Tyrell Henry. Tyrell, brother, friend, you do not deserve your football scholarship. You do not. Because I know, my dad knows, my friends know, my mom probably knows that on a kickoff, it's a live ball. Doesn't matter if it's all the way to the 1-yard line or if it goes to the 40-yard line. Doesn't matter where it is on the field, so long as it's 10 yards past where they kick. It is a live football. And on a kickoff, where we would have had a chance to just get the ball, maybe drive down the field, maybe just get a field goal. We don't need to score a touchdown. Maybe just get a field goal. Or maybe just cut the time. And instead, Tyrell looks at a ball in front of him as if he's a deer in headlights, and he watches that ball bounce, and then he watches as the opposing team just runs up on top of him and takes the football. And it wasn't even really much of an onside kick because the ball was in the air. He just let it bounce, and it was as if he had never seen a football. Tyrell Henry is our return man. Hey, Tyrell, just dive on it. You don't have to run it back for 10 yards. Just dive on it. Or better yet, wave. Say, fair catch, and then that's it. It's just going to be an automatic touchback. Don't just look at it. Don't just do nothing. And it's stuff like that that gets me upset. Because it's not about winning and losing all the time. We know we're bad. We don't have a head coach. We're not going to win a lot of games. It's about a standard of how you lose a game. When you're up 24-6 with less than 2 minutes in the third quarter, I don't care if you win the game at the end, 24-23, you win the game. You close it out. You don't let the team win a game they don't deserve to win. Period. End of story. Bye-bye. See you later. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And it's especially unacceptable for Tyrell Henry because it's not like he was playing much anyway. I mean, one catch for 5 yards, buddy. Did you even play? I mean, were you even on the field? And not to mention the consistent amount of fumbles from O'Shaughnessy, our punter, who let a fumble go into the end zone for a touchdown, and Foster Jr., who fumbled the ball, and Alante Brown, who fumbled the ball, and Caden Hauser, who also fumbled the ball. Now, granted, he managed to pick it up, and he actually got a first down on it. But, guys, can we hold on to the football? Can we just, please, not turn the ball over? No, we can't do that because we're a terrible team, and we do stupid things. I mean, we had Cal Halliday as the only seemingly competent football player on the team. And I guess Caden Hauser. And just, this Saturday, we play Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised if they put a 50 bomb on because we're as bad as Illinois. We're as bad as Indiana. We're as bad as Minnesota. And they put 50 bombs on them. So it's going to be a rough week. Now, I'll be right back because that sneeze took a lot out of me, as you could probably tell from my congested face. So I'll be right back, and we'll talk some more college football. All right, we're back, and I can breathe. That's usually a good sign. So, speaking of blowing leads, Colorado, I gotta say, I think I'm pretty much done with this story. I think I'm pretty much good. It was, you know what? It was fun while it lasted. I will say that. My God. I mean, what happened, Colorado? What was that? Utterly unforgivable. Utterly unforgivable. I don't know why ESPN is not. Why is it showing as DVD? I think it's confused. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. I think it's a little confused. Okay. It doesn't know what it was. I'm on week 7. Where is it? Oh, I'm sorry. ESPN is very confused. ESPN is very, very. Now I gotta look for the game. Okay, that's week 8. ESPN is very. Shouldn't it be? Maybe it's early. It's not here. Is this just the Saturday games? I don't want this. I also don't want the top 25. What is it? What do you think this is? What do you think this is? Here we go. All right. I'm not. Oh, it still is confused. I don't know what's going on. Okay. I guess it doesn't want me to get the box score because it's so embarrassing. You had a 29-point lead in going into the second half, Colorado, and it just eviscerated like it was toppling, like it was an old building that they were destroying for a new parking lot. That's what it was. Like, You give up 19 unanswered in the third quarter, and then 17 in the fourth quarter, and then 10 in overtime, in double overtime. And it wasn't like this was on the road, and it wasn't like this is to a good Stanford team. You lost to a Stanford team that, to that point, had not won a game in the Pac-12. So that's beautiful. I mean, I've seen some collapses, but the Colorado fall from grace, from the media hyping them up, from Dion's "Do you believe?" It is now to the point where it is pretty much just a joke. Like, I think everybody, like, Dion might be able to figure something out in the next couple of years, but they are not there. They are not there at all, and they're not going to be good, at least for maybe not until next year. We'll just leave it at that. There could maybe be something next year, but we'll see about that. But the other game I want to talk about, and hopefully ESPN wants to show this game, and they do. I don't know what was up with the Colorado game. Is Oregon and Washington played arguably the best game of the year this year. Oregon, I mean, first of all, I got to run down the stats for these two quarterbacks. Bo Nix, 33 for 43, 337 yards passing, and a couple of touchdowns. Michael Penix Jr., 22 for 37, 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Dillian Johnson. Is it Dylan or Dillian? I think it's Dylan. Dylan Johnson for Washington, running for 100 yards and a touchdown. Bucky Irving for Oregon, running for 127 yards and a touchdown. For Washington, Romeo Dunze and Jalen Polk, both catching for over 100 yards. Odunze for 128, Polk for 118. Then Troy Franklin for Oregon, 154 yards receiving. I mean, it's like everybody had triple digits. It's just everybody having triple digits, and it was back and forth. Oregon was on top after the first quarter, 14-8, because Oregon, or Washington, I should say, was on top 14-8, because Oregon goes for 2 on their first touchdown, and it becomes this like weird, like somebody's got to start going for 2. So Washington did end up going for 2, and then it was 18-22 at the half, Washington on top, and it was just every single play, it seemed it was the potential of a big play happening. Every single quarter they were scoring touchdowns. The thing that people were taking away mostly from this game was Oregon at the end of the second half. I think it was 4th and goal, and they went for it as opposed to just taking the points. I don't think they started with the football. I could be wrong, but I mean, when the end of the game, the difference is 3. Man, like that's the kind of mistake you can't make. And like, look, I get it. Maybe the analytics, the data, the mathematicians, the science people, they're saying you got to go for it. What about common sense, man? You got points that you left on the board. So, I don't know. But this was one of the best games. And I was saying going into this week, this is my game of the week. Did not let down. Did not let down as far as quality of game. Now, a game that did let down, but was still a good game, Notre Dame and USC. Notre Dame, apparently at this point, they just want to play spoiler. They just want to play, ruin everybody else's season because our season is done. Sam Hartman did not have an amazing game. He threw for 126 yards. The rushing wasn't amazing either, but hey, they put up 48 points on not amazing performances offensively. Now, how do they do that? Well, because Caleb Williams played his worst game to this point. He threw for less than 200 yards, 199 yards to his credit. Just 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. I think it was the first time that he had a multi-interception game in his career in college. And look, do I think this is going to affect his draft status? No. He's still a very good quarterback, and even very good quarterbacks going to have games. But this game I was expecting to be a lot closer. But hey, credit to Notre Dame. They're not a bad football team. And look, I don't know how many of these guys are going to be coming back. I know Sam Hartman is not going to be coming back. But look, Marcus Freeman has something going. Notre Dame is respectable. They're not, Georgia. They're not Michigan. They're not, any of these top dogs. But they are a fun football team. I can say that when I watch Notre Dame football, they're not going to completely underperform or just look terrible. Like, I think you see that. And we see again that Lincoln Riley doesn't know that there's a defensive side of the football. I mean, how are you going to let a guy throw for less than 200 yards and put 48 on you? It's I get it. Your quarterback is turning the ball over. But I mean, come on. It, I, look, Lincoln Riley, he knows offense. He needs an adult defensive coordinator. I don't know who he's got to go and get, but he's got to get somebody who's not his current defensive coordinator because it's just not going good. Okay, it's just not going good. Now, speaking of geez, speaking of things not going good, I apologize for my voice right now. That sneeze took a lot out of me. It took a part of my life, I think. So speaking of things not going good, we got to preview. Oh, you know what? Actually, before we preview, we got to look at the AP standings because as we go into the next week, we do not have a change in the top four. Top four remains the same, no movement. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. Ohio State. Washington, however, moves into the top five with that win over Oregon. They move up to number 5. Oregon only moves down one spot. They're at number 9. North Carolina, man, hey, they're climbing up. They're undefeated. Chance to win the ACC this year for sure. They're in the top 10. And Drake May, look, his draft status continues to climb. I don't know if he's the best quarterback in the class, but it's a loaded class. I mean, it really is. You have a lot of really good quarterbacks that you can take. So your team is in need of a quarterback, and they suck this year. Do not worry, because you got a good chance to get a really good quarterback in the draft. Potentially, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Another team that moved up, Oregon State. Hey, they had a nice win against UCLA last week as well. They're into the top 12, up 3 spots. Notre Dame moves up 6 spots because of their win over USC. They're now in the top 15. LSU moves up a few spots. I believe they played. Who did they play this week? Let me find their matchup. They played Missouri. No, was that last week? I don't remember who they played Auburn. That's right. They blew Auburn. They blew the socks off Auburn. That was Peyton Thorne has really proven to the world that he like Mel Tucker was built by Kenneth Walker. And Louisville dropping 7 spots. I can't remember again who did they lost. They lost last week. I believe they lost to Tennessee. I don't know why I have that in my mind. No, they did not lose. Who did they lose? Looking for Louisville, and I missed them somewhere. Looking for the Redbird. No, that's Ball State. That's right. They lost to Pittsburgh, who's unranked. So, look, Louisville's lucky to stay ranked, but they're at 21. The one thing that confuses me is Iowa. So Iowa, they played one of the games of football. They did win the game against Wisconsin, but like they were unranked. So why are they now 24 ahead of UCLA? Who, granted, they lose to Oregon State, but you're telling me UCLA, who's they had something of a chance to win the Pac-12 this year, and telling me they're worse than UCLA, who dropped 7 spots? I don't know. Oh, and USC also dropped 8 spots. They are now number 18 in the country. But those are most of the movements. So we got to talk about this week because it is a big week for Michigan State. Because the rivalry game is this weekend, in case you missed it. Michigan State. Michigan State at home this time, 7:30 on NBC. I don't know if I'll be watching this game. If I am watching this game, I'll probably be very, very sad. So, keep me in your thoughts and prayers. A game that, if you want an actually interesting game, how about Florida State and Duke? Same time. That one's on ABC. That should be a really good game. That should be very interesting. Another game, big noon. Penn State, Ohio State, little Big Ten matchup. I don't think Penn State is, or I don't think either of these teams are really for real. But Ohio State, got a little bit of chip on their shoulder. Kyle McCord wants to prove something, prove that he's, I don't know, a functioning human being. I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe people don't think that about him. I don't know. But that should be a really good game as well. I think that's one of the few big noon games that I can think of that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a one that I want to watch. Uh, Other than that, you have Alabama, Tennessee. That should be a good one at 3:30 on CBS. Just scrolling through here. It's like there's not a whole lot of others that I can really point to as like big games. I mean UCLA, Stanford. UCLA trying to stay in the top 25, and Stanford coming off of a big win. That game's at 10:30 on ESPN. You know, if you have no self-respect, you can watch that game. But yeah. So, you got a few interesting games. Hey, you even got some games tonight. You know, who can miss Middle Tennessee at Liberty? Hello? Anybody? Is anybody at that game? Hold on. No, nobody's watching. If you're watching that game, I don't know. Get another hobby. I don't know what's going on. But I'll be right back again because as can be told, I don't know what that sneeze awakened a demon inside of me or something. I don't know what's. All right. I can breathe for only a few. I don't know how many more minutes I'll have to be able to breathe. So we'll get through the rest of the show relatively quickly. So I want to briefly talk about the NHL because I need to talk about my Red Wings because they're looking pretty good right now. I think there's a couple of NHL games going on, but right now, as it stands, just a few games into the season, Red Wings are second in the Atlantic Division. They're 2-1 with a +5 goal differential. 1-1 on the road they had a tough road loss against the New Jersey Devils in their season opener, but hey, they won their home opener against the Lightning in a shootout. Essentially, it was back and forth. It felt, and then they shut out the Columbus Blue Jackets last night. Look, right now, let me see if I can. Oh, I can't click on teams to get their stats. That's wonderful. Can I? Let me see if I get stats. Okay, I don't know why it's randomly showing me James Primer. That's fun. Skaters. I get teams. This is the worst. Okay, teams. Here we go. Okay, that's not. The NHL website is awful. Oh my. Here we go. All teams. All right. Let's choose the Detroit Red Wings. Get stats. Okay. Right now, I mean, Alex DeBrincat. Talk about a fantastic addition this season. He's leading the team in points. He's got 5 points. He's already got 3 goals and a couple of assists. JT Comfort, another addition to this team. He's got 4 points on the season with a goal and 3 assists. Mo Sider having a great start, a goal and a couple of assists. Dylan Larkin also with a pretty hot start, a goal and a couple of assists. You got Lucas Raymond with a goal and an assist, a couple of points for him. Andrew Kopp, goal and an assist. I mean, you're getting a lot of production from a lot of different guys right now. I mean, you have, let's see, how many guys have a goal at least? You have 1, 2. You have Robbie Fabry with a goal, Rasmussen with a goal. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 10 different guys with a goal this season. So shout out Steve Yzerman right now. As far as the offense, defense leaves a little bit to be desired. I kind of want to see some of the younger guys come up, and we've seen Wallman and we've seen Oli Mata. But I kind of want to see guys like Edmonds. I want to see Walliner come up because that's what I'm looking for as far as production. But hey, Mo Sider, Lucas Raymond off to a great start. I couldn't ask for a better myself. Now they got some tough games this week. They got Pittsburgh and they got Ottawa. So those are two teams that Pittsburgh right now, they're off to a hot start. Looking at the standings here, Pittsburgh is in first place in their division with a 2-1 record as well. Now again, a lot of these, like, where they sit in the standings don't really, like, you've only played a few games, so it's hard to really say, but the reality is that's where they're at. And they're looking pretty good as well. Thing is, they're still a very old team. They're still, there's weaknesses on that team, especially in the goaltending side. But they have +5 goal differential right now. So we'll see about it. I think it'll be a good game. That's tomorrow on TNT. It's a national broadcast game. So that should be a good one. Old 2000s rivalry. Penguins and Red Wings. That's a good one right there. That's enough hockey. That's all the hockey you get. Okay, there hasn't been enough games, and even if there was a lot of games, I don't have a whole lot of commentary to give you. You want to watch some more hockey stuff? Go watch the hockey guy. He gets you the hyper detailed stuff. But look, I'm happy about the Wings. They won 2 in a row. Let's make it 3. Let's go out and beat the Penguins. Come on. The other thing I got to talk about is the MLB postseason. So as we speak right now, the NLCS, I was going to say DS, the NLDCS playing out. Philly with a 1-0 lead in the series right now. The Diamondbacks, top of the first, they got a man on with 1 out. This is a Diamondbacks team that has stormed through the postseason. They swept the Brewers. They swept they swept the Dodgers. But equally, the Phillies have swarmed through their playoff run. They swept the Marlins. They nearly swept the Braves. And it just feels like this playoffs has been just like moving. Like, it's just been going incredibly fast. Wild card round lasted as short as it could possibly have lasted. And the divisional round lasted practically as short as it could have. Because you had 2 teams sweep and the other teams just lose 1 game. I mean, the Astros took care of business. They won, in 4. And the same with the Phillies. And it's just like, there was no chance, right? Or they won in not in 4. They won in best out of 5. So they won in 3. Or no, they did win in 4. Yeah, it's best out of 5. Yeah, best out of 5. I'm confusing myself. But look, the thing that I wanted to take away here. So for one, the Astros and the Rangers dominate. So we got a battle in Texas in the ALCS, and that I think is going to be. That I think is great. And right now, Texas is putting the chokehold on. They're up 2-0. They're going mad at their house. It's a good shot Texas sweeps this series. I mean, look, I know that the Astros, they got a lot of cats on that team that make it very scary to come away with a win, especially a sweep. And they were roaring back a little bit, but the Rangers, credit to that bullpen that has been a weakness for them this season. They have stepped it up big time in the playoffs. So Texas is 2 games away from into their first World Series since 2011, when they lost to the St. Louis Cardinals. So Cardinals aren't in this playoffs this year. Rangers, you have a shot. That's a team that has never won a World Series. Obviously, they've had plenty of really good players throughout their history, but they never won. And that's the team I'm rooting for sure. On the flip side, in the National League side, you have the Phillies, who have been basically just an October team. And honestly, I don't like the Phillies. I don't like Philadelphia fans. I don't really like the Phillies team in general because I just find it to be a little phony. I mean, you have a bunch of guys that you spent big on in Bryce Harper and in Trey Turner and in Kyle Schwarber and all these and Nick Castellanos. It's like that's basically the whole team. And like what you have Zach Wheeler. That's the only guy I can think of that before Dave Dombrowski got there that they actually like drafted and developed. And I think they drafted Zach Wheeler. Could be wrong. But he's the only guy that's been there, I think, for a significant amount of time. And it just, I compare them to the Diamondbacks, who are the antithesis of that. They are a team that is built largely by their own making, with Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte and Christian Walker. And I it's the same. Well, it's similar with the Rangers, but a little bit. The Rangers spent a good amount of money on their roster, and made some moves as well. But look, I just value the way the Diamondbacks do things. I just like it more. I do. But right now, Philadelphia has a chance to take a hold of this series and get another win here tonight. So we'll see about that. As far as what's going to happen in this World Series, honestly, if it's Rangers Phillies, that's anybody's game because those are two teams. They're going to be red hot, and I mean two teams that are. It should be a fun World Series. And hopefully I'm not wrong about this ALCS being fun because I don't want the Rangers to win, but I don't want it to just be a sweep. I want it to be interesting, right? But we'll see. I don't know. The way the Rangers have been playing, they kind of remind me a little bit of the '06 Tigers. Just a team that kind of got in. They were really good at the beginning of the season. And then they lose the division, and then you're just not really sure, and they just storm through the playoffs. So hopefully their season and then like that team season. But all right. It's enough baseball, especially because again, I can feel the congestion taking over my body right. It's not good. It's not good. So I think with that is everything I have on my list here. So we will get to the most important part of the show. Everybody's favorite segment. They're telling me about it all across the world. It's time for this week's edition of the picks. So let me get the music. Let's get her rolling. That should be good. Let's get to that line. All right. So obviously no Seth this week. So let's pull up his picks. Here we go. All right. So starting off the week, Thursday Night Football. Jaguars at the Saints. Seth is taking the Jags in this game. And I'm going to have to agree with him because, look, the Saints are just not good. They're just not. They don't have a quarterback that you can rely on. Their offense is boring as all heck. I look at the Saints and I just look at a shell of it. It really is unfortunate because that's a city that really doesn't have a whole lot to look forward to sports-wise. Saints, man, they're just not good by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's not good. It's not good in New Orleans. I could go on and on about it. That's where it's at. Then we have at 1 o'clock the Lions heading to Baltimore after a big road win, taking on the Ravens. Coming back from Britain, Seth is taking the Lions. And I will obviously agree. Look, every week when I feel like the Lions have a legitimate shot to lose a game, they just prove me wrong. They proved me wrong last week. And look, Lamar Jackson is, in theory, a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. But if they can stop the run like they have all season, if they can stop Lamar Jackson from beating them on their feet and force Lamar Jackson to throw to beat them, I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be able to beat them with his arm because he hasn't beaten anybody with his arm this year. So, yeah, give me the Lions to beat the Ravens here, and especially if we can get Jahmyr Gibbs and Brian Bance back, it's going to be a rough day for Lamar, I think. Up next, the Raiders. The Raiders heading to Chicago, taking on the Bears. Seth taking the Raiders. And I took the Bears last week, and I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play this week. However, the Raiders did win without Jimmy. So, you know what? I am going to take the Raiders in this game as well as... I am going to give the Raiders the chance here to win this game, not because the Raiders are good or anything, but because the Bears are so bad. They are so awful, and I will never pick them again because of that loss last week. You just can't do anything like that. You really can't. And I will never forgive you. So yeah, give me the Raiders. Browns at Colts, or as I call it, football cancer. Seth is taking the Colts in this one. I'm going to actually disagree. I'm going to take the Browns to win this game because, look, the Browns have a top defense in this league. They held the 49ers to 17 points. I mean, you do that to any team, it's impressive. But they held one of the best teams in the league to that many. And the Colts, I know it's going to be at their home, but you don't have Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew looked terrible last week against the Jags. Yeah, give me the Colts and, I don't know, PJ, RJ, TJ, backslash, 4th, 5th, Walker. I'll take him at quarterback. The Bills heading to New England, taking on the Pats. That's taking the Bills. And I guess I'll take them too because they found a way to win. But this is going to be probably if this isn't a blowout game, I just really start to question what the Bills are exactly doing. Because if you can't blow out this awful Patriots team with the worst offense in the league, with Mac Jones arguably one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, it's an overall terrible situation in New England. If you can't take the top off these guys, Josh, you got some questions. I'll just say that. The Commanders heading to East Rutherford. Take on the G-Men. Seth is taking the Commanders. And you know what? It's actually, this is a lot more of a difficult question, I think, than we want to believe it. But I will agree. I think the Commanders are just a slightly better team than the Giants. On defense, probably. On offense, I don't know. I mean, Sam Howell, Tyrod Taylor. I don't know. You never know what. With Sam Howell, you don't know what kind of Sam Howell you're going to get. I think he could have a good game this week because I think he had a bad game last time he played, which was last week. I believe they lost. Yeah, they beat the Falcons. Hey, maybe the Commanders will get something going. Yeah. All right, Falcons at the Buccaneers. Two teams that had rough games. Buccaneers are looking to bounce back, but Seth is taking the Falcons. Now, you know, I took the Falcons last week. I gotta believe that Baker's gonna bounce back. I'm gonna take the Buccaneers. They just had a very embarrassing game against the Lions. Obviously, we talked about it all show. But I just think that the Buccaneers are not nearly as bad at the quarterback position as the Falcons are. And Buccaneers are gonna be at home again. I think they got a legitimate shot here. Up next, the Steelers taking on the Rams. Seth, taking the Steelers. I'm going to disagree. Give me Pikachu, Puka Nakua, and the Rams. I don't like that offense that the Steelers have at all. I know they're coming off a bye, so they're going to be ready to go, in theory. And technically, they're just at, Heinz Field West, SoFi Stadium with the Rams. But, no, I mean, like, Matthew Stafford, he's still putting up monster yards. Cooper Kupp still making plays. Pikachu, Puka Nakua still doing things. Yeah, I'll take the Rams. Cardinals at the Seahawks, the battle of the birds. Seth is taking the Seahawks, and I will just agree on principle. I don't believe in the Seahawks, and the Cardinals are a feisty team. They have some energy. They got some dog in them a little bit. Not like a pit bull or like a German Shepherd. It's more like a, I don't know, like an angry golden retriever. Like it's a big enough dog where you're like, oh, I don't want this thing angry at me, but it's also not really all that threatening. So yeah, I don't know. Give me the Seahawks. I'll take the Seahawks just because they're coached by Pete Carroll. They probably don't. The divisional game, anything can happen. In another game that I can only describe as football cancer, we have the Packers at the Broncos. Seth is taking the Packers to win this game. And I will just agree again on principle. Not because I think the Packers are good. I think they're very, very not good. But I also think the Broncos are arguably the worst team in football right now. So, yeah, I just... The Broncos are not winning. They might not win another game. I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on. Sean Payton is a complete fraud, and Russell Wilson is totally lost. And they have no talent players. Jerry Jeudy's awful. They should start selling, like, yesterday. But, yeah, give me the Packers. I don't think it's going to be a steamrolling. I think it's going to be an ugly game, just because Jordan Love is not very good either. But, yeah, give me the Packers. Up next, the Chargers head to Kansas City, taking on the Chiefs. Seth is on principle taking his Chargers, and I, on principle, will not take his Chargers. I'm not doing this, okay? I believed in Justin Herbert for a little bit. I can't do it anymore, Justin. You can't win games, and you certainly can't win games against the Chiefs. It's in Arrowhead. Patrick Mahomes, he's coming off a rougher game that he had last week against the Broncos, but he's got plenty of rest. He's going to be back at home. I don't see the Chargers coming away with a win here with that Nimrod of a coach, Staley, and that choke artist of Justin Herbert at quarterback. I can't do it. I can't do it at all. Give me the Sunday Night Football. Probably the best Sunday Night Football game in theory that we've had in a very long time. Dolphins, Eagles. Seth is taking the Eagles. I am taking the Dolphins. I don't know what Seth is on drugs. Are you kidding me? We're talking about the best offense in football. And the Eagles lost to the Jets and have looked pedestrian a lot of the time. Give me the Dolphins to put a smackdown on the Eagles, for sure. And then Monday night, the 49ers at the Vikings. Seth is taking the 49ers. And this is difficult because we don't know what the status of McCaffrey or Debo is going to be. And you know what? Because of the mystery. No, I can't do it. I'm taking the 49ers. I can't do it. I'm not picking the Vikings. It's not because I'm biased and I hate the division opponents. No, I do. I can't. So that's so. Run down. Jaguars, Saints. We've both got the Jaguars. Lions, Ravens. We've both got the Lions. Raiders, Bears. We've both got the Raiders. Browns, Colts. Seth has got the Colts. I have got the Browns. Bills, Patriots. We've both got the Bills. Commanders, Giants. We both have the Commanders. Falcons, Buccaneers. Seth is taking the Falcons. I am taking the Buccaneers. Steelers and Rams. Seth is taking the Steelers. I am taking the Rams. Cardinals, Seahawks. We're both taking the Seahawks. Packers, Broncos. We are both taking the Packers. Chargers, Chiefs. Seth is taking the Chargers. I am taking the Chiefs. And Dolphins, Eagles. Seth is taking the Eagles. I am taking the Dolphins. 49ers and Vikings. We both take the 49ers. That is the picks for the week. And that is the show. As I slowly lose my ability to breathe. I don't know what's going on. That sneeze awakened something in me that I did not know was in there. So I apologize for my voice there down the stretch, but I appreciate anybody for showing up, hanging out. But we're gonna wrap it up here. Again, I will be back next week for the Lions Ravens game on the road. Should be a good one. That's at 1:00. So I'll be live at around 12:55. And we'll also be back again next week, and hopefully it'll be a victory Monday. I don't know. We'll see. If Michigan State beats Michigan this week, it's gonna be a crazy stream on Sunday, just because I'll be excited about that. I probably won't be talking about it that much, but hey, we'll see. So yeah, appreciate everybody for showing up, and have a good night, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.